exclusively on ESPN Plus. UFC 313, Saturday. Reigning light heavyweight champion Alex Pereira defends his title against number one contender Magomed Ankalaev, and an explosive lightweight bout between Justin Gaethje and Rafael Fiziev. UFC 313, Saturday at 10 p.m. Eastern. Buy it on ESPNplus.com/PPV.
Hi, I'm Chris.
And I'm Jeremy.
And I'm Fergal.
And we're from Movie Smash.
Comic book movies are having a golden age right now with the MCU.
Movies based on comics aren't necessarily a new thing, but they're a big thing.
Join us every other Tuesday on Movie Smash.
We explore these movies and find some hidden gems.
Every other week, we revisit some of the best.
And some of the worst movies based on comics or graphic novels.
Was Green Lantern as bad as you remember?
Heck no!
Is Time Cop the most accurate time travel movie ever created?
Absolutely.
Was Mystery Men way ahead of its time?
Should they be revisited? Should they be forgotten?
Join us on Movie Smash and find out. Listen wherever you find your fine podcasts.
Entering the world of Crisis on Infinite Films, brought to you by All2ReelToo podcast.
Okay, everybody, welcome to the latest episode of All2ReelToo. My name is Michael E. Cullen II, and with me, as always, is
Sesame, You Took My Hands, and Carta.
I like it. Short and sweet. Good name. Strong name, you know. You can pass that on to your progeny, and, you know, the world will be a better place.
Sure. I mean, yeah. I don't think having a middle name as You Took My Hands is a very good name, but
it's strong and
is it one word or are they separate? Because usually a middle name is one word, isn't it? So,
you took my hands.
Just be, you took my hand. Yeah, you took my.
You took my hands.
Yeah.
This is my son Bobby. You took my hands. And my daughter Susie. You took my hands. And
wow.
Oh, it'd be great names. Anyways, today we venture into the world of Marvel before the MCU. We go way back to 22 years ago, in 2003, for one of the most 2003 movies ever made.
Yep.
Entitled Daredevil, which was both written and directed by Mark Steven Johnson, who people may know as the writer of Grumpy Old Men and Christopher Robin.
Okay.
And Ghost Rider, which he also directed.
Oh boy.
And you know what else he also wrote?
What?
Jack Frost.
Wait, what? The Michael Keaton one?
Movie. Yes.
Nice.
Yes. You know, there's no dad. There's a snow dad is better than no dad. He wrote that line.
It kind of makes sense because some of the lines in this movie are a little bit interesting. Yeah.
So that's the writer director. And then in our cast, we have Ben Affleck as Matt Murdock, a.k.a. Daredevil. We have Jennifer Garner as Electro Nachos, which, Jon Favreau, who plays Franklin Foggy Nelson at one point, says sounds like a Mexican appetizer. In one of the most racist lines in this movie. Anyway, so we have Colin Farrell as Bullseye. We have Michael Clark Duncan as Wilson Fisk. Scott Terra as Young Matt. He is known for movies such as Dickie Roberts' former child star.
Wait, is that the one with David Spade?
Yes.
Wow. That movie was Interesting.
We got Joey Pants in this movie as Joe Pantoliano as Ben Urich. We've got Ellen Pompeo as Karen Page, Leland Orser as Wesley Owen Welch, Eric Avari, who we know from Home Alone 4 as Nicholas Nachios, and got David Keith, not to be confused with Keith David, as Jack Murdoch. I really want to see a movie someday. I don't know if it's ever happened with David Keith and Keith David. And I think David Keith should play Keith David and Keith David should play David Keith.
I don't think that would be a good idea because one of them had to do blackface.
Just one of them's black and the other one's white. No, just their names of their characters in the movie.
Okay, I was gonna say, like, I don't think it's...
I'm not saying we're doing a LaQuisha thing here or anything. I'm just saying...
I was gonna say, I'm not sure that's a good idea, especially in today's climate. Wow.
Oh boy. So we've got Paul Ben Victor as Jose Caseta, among other people in this movie.
Other people who don't matter, apparently. They're like side characters.
They matter. There's no small part, only small players.
That's true.
And yeah,
that's true.
And these people are really tiny. It's weird. I'm joking.
It is. So is that dude who played Matt's law partner? Has he also played Happy Hogan, or is it just the same actor?
It's the same actor,
but it's not the same character, though. It's not Happy Hogan.
No, because Happy Hogan in the MCU is now played by the actor who played him in the Netflix TV series, and in the soon to be out, which probably the same week as this comes out, Daredevil: Born Again. So yeah,
okay.
Yeah, as one of the actors from Cheats, which we recorded recently.
That's an interesting movie. Yeah.
Yeah. The actor's name is Eldon Henson. I forgot his name. Yeah, there we go. He was also in. Yeah, he was in a lot of things. But anyways, so now it's like he's the Foggy of this world, not of the current world.
Okay.
Of the MCU. He's in an alternate universe, the same one as Elektra, which we know exists because of Deadpool and Wolverine. So, yeah.
Oh, wow. I haven't seen that yet, but I really want to watch that.
Oh yeah, you should definitely.
I just never been in the mood for it. I mean, it was like I really wanted to see it when it came in theaters, and then I was gonna wait until I got on Disney, and then by that time. I know. I just need to be in the right mood to watch something.
It's understandable. Yeah. Sometimes you just have to be in the mood for a certain thing because there's like so many movies I really want to see that I'm just like sitting here. I'm just like, do I want to watch that, or do I want to watch like 8 episodes of a TV show that
you already watched?
That I already watched, or a show that I'm in the middle of that I don't have to invest too much into. So yeah,
right. Yeah, I mean that's kind of like with me, like in the Game of Thrones, like. I just finally started watching it because for whatever reason, I just wasn't interested at the time when it was on. I don't know why. And then for some reason, about a month ago, I just decided I wanted to start watching it just out of the blue, for no reason. I think probably because I'm a big fan of Peter Dinklage, actor, and so I think I kind of want to mainly watch it for his character, which is because he is one of the best shows. Interesting, but anyway, yeah.
If you want to watch good Peter Dinklage movie, I recommend the British version of Death at a Funeral.
Okay.
If you've never seen that. He's also in the American version, so he's the only actor to return and play the same character in both. So, it's interesting to watch them both back to back, which I've done. But the original it's one of the only movies that just makes me laugh out loud every single time I watch it. And so we're avoiding talking about the movie that we're covering today, and
3 hour kind of by accident. Yeah.
Yes. So here is the Internet Movie Database short synopsis of the movie. A man blinded by toxic waste, which also enhanced his remaining senses, fights crime as an aerobatic martial arts superhero. Acrobatic. Yeah. Aerobatic. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm reading fast.
Aerobatic.
Aerobatic. That I think that's aerobatic is like when like Green Arrow and Batman get together.
They become like one person. Yeah, aerobatic. Yes. That's a good concept. They call it aerobatic and make an art where it's like they merge into the same person. That would be. I mean, they kind of basically are the same per character if you think about it.
Well,
I mean, both born to extreme.
I was gonna say if you go from the CW version of Arrow, definitely. Yeah. So
I think it was because they didn't have the rights to Batman, but still, I'm kind of glad they did it because it was a good show.
fully admitted it because if they would have had the rights to Batman, it wouldn't have worked. I mean, I still think a Batman TV series would work, and I hate that they haven't done it like a real dark one. But yeah. Speaking of Batman, we've got Batfleck in this movie, and who after making this movie said he would never play a superhero again, and then years later he played Batman. We also have the current Penguin in it, Colin Farrell.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. I don't understand why. I mean, I thought he was okay as Batman. I don't really understand like the hatred for. Like,
I honestly think he's one of the better Batman. Batmans. What would it be?
Batman, maybe. Yeah.
What's the plural? But yeah, I actually enjoyed him. I just think the problem was they never gave him a good movie to be it in. You know, it was like his acting was great, and he was definitely good, and people just crapped on him. But he was better than George Clooney. Batman,
like, no offense to George, but yeah,
no offense to George. George was a really good Bruce Wayne, but I don't think he was a good Batman. Anywho, Daredevil is a comic book character that was created by Stan Lee and Bill Everett. Everett. I can't speak today, by the way. Anyways, this movie takes a lot of cues from like the Frank Miller run and some from the Kevin Smith run of the character. So it's Kevin Smith makes a cameo in the movie even. So yeah. So what are your initial reactions to this movie?
I don't know. I thought it was going to be set up to be a pretty decent movie, like when it, like in the first like 15, 20 minutes. And then it just seemed like it kind of just progressively fell off. No pun intended. Yeah. It just seemed like, I don't know what changed. I don't know if they like budgetary issue or they didn't have as much time to finish the movie. Because it just seems like the first 15, 20 minutes is way more fleshed out than the rest of the movie is, you know?
I will tell you that there's a lot of studio interference on this movie that fucked it up.
All right. Well, that makes sense because it just kind of felt like a whole different movie right after he becomes an adult, you know? So
it's not a, extremely better movie, but there's a director's cut that I have the DVD of, and I've watched that version, and I prefer it to this version. So, it adds about a half hour to it, including a story about a client or like a case involving Coolio, who's in the movie as Coolio as he's like the director's cut. It was like came out in 2004, I should say, as a DVD release. and it had an R rating as well. It was a lot darker. And there's a whole there's an addition of a subplot involving a drug addict played by Coolio who was charged with killing a prostitute informant who was feeding Uric info on Kingpin. This subplot is missing from the theatrical version of the film, but is present in the novelization by Greg Cox. But yeah, it adds to it. There's also like the subplot, including Coolio, is I think a lot. It adds something to it, and it's weird. Like I can understand why they cut it out, but it added more depth to the story and to the characters. So yeah. But yeah, one of the things, I mean, they like Affleck didn't want to do the character again. They were hoping to make a sequel. They did make a sequel with Elektra, but.
Right.
Yeah.
That's like a spin-off sequel kind of.
Yeah.
That one looks pretty cheesy too. I kind of want to watch that one later.
which I hope to cover for a future episode. So very soon we should cover that one just because. So my history with this movie is I really liked it when it first came out, but this is before like the MCU and a lot of things. And so I was the president of my university's, your university as well, the Film and Video Society. And was I the president or the vice president? I don't know, whatever it was. I was in charge of like programming for like, we'd have like movie nights at the university where you could come and watch a movie for free on campus. And I did a double billing comic book night. And like I said, this is before the MCU and everything. So I did The Crow followed by Daredevil, and Daredevil had just come out. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to do a new movie and an older movie that, you know, that way I can get, you know, a variety of people to come. Everybody but me and like one other person left after The Crow. So yeah. Nobody. Everybody was like, "Why'd you pick the Daredevil?" And I was like, "Oh my god, what did I do?" So yeah,
Wow.
I
mean, it did pretty well in the theaters. I mean,
yeah, it did decent and everything, and maybe people had already seen it, and that's why they didn't want to watch it. I don't know, but everybody loved The Crow because I mean, The Crow is one of the greatest movies ever made, in my opinion. But that's just, you know, But and this movie. When you watch them back to back, when you watch The Crow and Daredevil back to back, this movie is very influenced by The Crow. It's very influenced by The Crow, and I'd say Tim Burton's Batman, and a few other movies, like, and also like movies like Dark City and some other things like in style and stuff. But there's a lot of like plot points that I think are very similar to The Crow, except for, you know, the character is different, but it's like there's certain things that happen, like certain plot points which we might get to. So what goes down in this movie?
So kind of like you mentioned, he's kind of bullied a lot by the kid from The Sopranos and the actor Sopranos. And
no, it's actually just the character. He comes into this world too. I'm joking.
Yes, the character for The Sopranos shows up in the Marvel universe, and he picks
along with Joey Pants, who was in there too. So whatever.
Yeah, exactly. And so he runs away. He doesn't really want to fight these kids, mainly because his dad. He's an ex prize fighter, but now he's like an alcoholic, but like the nice kind, and he doesn't want. He's still a prize fighter, but he's just not like, you know. Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's still fighting. So.
Oh, okay. And so like he doesn't really want Matt to fight. He wants, you know, do something else, like study to become like a doctor or something. And but eventually they kind of make like a pact with themselves to the dads. He starts drinking. He starts working out more. He starts being more healthy and stuff. And then Matt studies really hard. Gets a lot of really good grades and stuff like that. And then he turns out that, you know, Matt's, what was his dad's name? I forgot his character's name.
His dad's name was Jack the Devil Murdoch.
Oh, that's where you get the devil. That's right. So yeah, so he starts winning like all of his fights, and you know, you're thinking like, oh man, that's awesome, you know, because he's working out more, and he's taking care of himself. He's not drinking anymore. But then we find out that all those fights were rigged. He didn't know that beforehand. This guy that he used to like work for basically is like the muscle for, you know, people who didn't pay their debts or whatever.
Yeah, the local mob boss named Eddie Fallon.
That's right. Yeah, not Jimmy Fallon, but not Jimmy Fallon's.
That would have been a completely different movie.
It would have been.
He would have just sit there and like anything anybody said, he'd laugh at it, even if it's not funny.
Exactly.
And then he'd tussle the hair of a billionaire who runs for president and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. No, not that Fallon. And then he this Fallon guy wants him to throw his fight, you know, so he wants him to lose against the other guy, but he doesn't really want to because he thought, you know, he won all those other matches fair and square, so he's kind of feels sort of ashamed and embarrassed about that. And but he was gonna do it anyway, but then he saw Matt cheering for him in the audience, and you know, so he got up and won the fight on his own, and then this Fallon guy has him killed, and they always put a rose on their bodies. Yeah, go ahead.
Before this, Matt is blinded.
Wait, that happened. That's right. That happened. Oh yeah, that's right. That happened before.
It's basically like because Matt finds out that his dad is still working for Fallon and like making collections and stuff, like, you know, threatening people for money and whatnot. And he sees him do it, and like, you know, then he goes running into this area that has more barrels of toxic waste than anybody should ever have anywhere in the world that are not really secure. Like, I don't understand why this is so unsecure or insecure or whatever you want to call it. So
That I totally forgot. It's like the main part of the movie, him being blinded. Yeah, I totally forget. In the 80s and 90s, where it was just like toxic waste was everywhere, just like not at all secured, like you say, just out in the open, like in RoboCop. When that guy crashes into a thing, he ends up like his skin ends up like melting. It's like, why is toxic waste just everywhere in the 80s? Like you could just be like out in the middle of the street. There's a thing of toxic waste just like sitting there. Like,
well, when I was a kid growing up in the 80s, like in the middle of our playground, we had a big bucket of toxic waste that we used to like just, we didn't have like a sandbox. We had a toxic waste.
oh god,
We
yeah,
just-
toxic waste box. Oh my god, dude.
So, I mean, a little trivia here too is that in the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles comic books, the same toxic waste that blinds Matt Murdock is what turns the turtles into like humanoid creatures.
Yeah,
So it happens at the same time.
yeah.
Two different comic book companies, but that's why there's the so like in the in the Daredevil world, there's a group of people called the Hand that are the bad guys, and in Turtles, it's the Foot Clan.
Oh my god, that's
So
right. Yeah, the Foot Clan.
So it starts out slightly as a parody of Daredevil's origins.
Wow,
Yeah,
that's hilarious.
but it wasn't a Marvel comic book, so you couldn't really reference it, but you do. They have over the years, though.
Yeah, and so like what I don't understand, maybe it was because of the interference from the company, but they didn't really explain too well about why the toxic waste enhanced his other senses. It was just like it was kind of like the show don't tell, but they just wouldn't tell, not show. You know, like
I don't think they ever even explained it in the comic books, but it's the same thing.
okay.
You know, like the Hulk, you know, becomes the Hulk because of like gamma rays, like
Yeah, I mean,
You
yeah,
know,
I guess that's true.
they're random things, like, you know, like sometimes, you know, like people in comic books, you know, you get hit by lightning and you become, you know, Lightning Man or whatever. I'm just making shit up, but you know what I mean? It's just the way
yeah, no, I get it.
they're written.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess that makes sense. And like, but like for some reason, the toxic waste, aside from not killing him, which you think that would probably, but would happen or burn his face off completely, but fine, no matter. And somehow his face was fine, but just his eyes were affected. Interesting. This is all like they just had the waste just happened to shoot at that exact right moment. And then like the rest of it just splashed off his face and it didn't affect him in any way. Okay, sure. And but like he's able to like see stuff kind of through like grids almost. Like it's like he see what he kind of does at the same time. It's hard to explain. Like
Like a sonar kind of ability.
Yeah.
Like a bat. So wait.
It's like Batman, pretty much. I mean, he's pretty similar to Batman in a lot of ways. He doesn't really have power so much as gadgets, although I guess he does have some actual.
He has powers. All of his other senses were enhanced. Yeah.
Makes sense. It's interesting. So like later on though, I did get a little confused. I guess we could talk about that later because maybe I just misunderstood, but it seems like later on in the movie there's kind of a contradiction of what he said in the beginning when like he could like essentially see through like sonar, but then later on it's that only when it rains. But before that there was no condition when it rains. Like
I think what it is rain enhances his ability because like the raindrops can kind of like create the images, so that's how he's like able to see like you know, Elektra later and stuff.
Yeah. Okay. All right, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Good. We got that part clear.
Yeah. So
That was
but
my boast.
I do think they should have explained that a little bit better.
They should have, but whatever. It's 2003. It was the beginning of the superhero.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't like the total beginning because, you know, you had Superman in the late 70s and then, you know, Batman in the late 80s and stuff like that. So, but this was like kind of the beginning of like the Marvel. This is the 5th Marvel movie ever made.
Yeah. Oh,
So,
wow. Oh,
yeah.
wow. That's crazy. I didn't.
I mean, the first was Howard the Duck. So,
then there's X-Men. So there was what, 3 X-Men, and then that would be what's the
well, this
other
was
one?
fifth character, I guess I should say. This was you had like Blade and you had Blade, and then you had Captain America, which we covered recently, and you had what else was there? X-Men, Blade, X-Men, Blade, Howard,
Captain.
X-Men, Blade, Howard, Captain America, and this. Oh, and Punisher. There was a Punisher movie prior.
Oh, that's right. It was, yeah.
With Dolph Lundgren, which we will cover in the future, I'm hoping. So
That's wait, there was also another one though, Nick Fury. We watched that one once.
that was a made-for-TV movie, though.
Oh, okay, right,
Yeah.
okay.
So
The Hoff in that one, the Hasselhoff.
So we've got and Spider-Man too. Yeah, Spider-Man. We did say Spider-Man, didn't we? Anyways, I'm keeping
Right. Whatever, it's fine.
Yeah, this is one of the early ones.
Yeah.
I've read somewhere that it's the fifth, which I don't. Maybe it's the fifth character. I don't know what it is, but anyways, the so we jump ahead after his dad's murdered, and he and we never find out how he was raised after that. So
Exactly. Wait, yeah, there's an orphanage. There's nothing again. There's no. Yeah, okay, whatever. It's fine.
So years later, he's an adult and he's working as an attorney in Hell's Kitchen, which is like the gritty part of New York City, with his friend Franklin Foggy Nelson. They provide legal representation, mostly pro bono, to clients who they believe are actually innocent, and then. And then at night he fights as Daredevil. There's a reporter, Ben Urich, who in the comics writes for the Daily Bugle alongside Spider-Man.
Okay.
But they couldn't reference Spider-Man in this movie at all, so they couldn't reference the Daily Bugle, so they turned it to the real New York Post. One of our great newspapers. Not really.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah. The one that pretty much got us into trouble with. Anyway, I'm not going to get into it, but
yes. They must have like paid to be in this movie, because you see the New York Post like a few times, like in the movie too. Yeah, and so Ben Urich's working for there, and he's like chronicling Daredevil's exploits. He's kind of like the what's her face from the Flash, who or
Iris.
Yeah, Iris from the Flash, or Lois Lane from Superman, who would report on the person before they knew who they were. So yeah, there's a trial that happens where he is there's this guy named what was the character's name? Jose Caseta, who raped a girl, and he's he gets away with it because he has a expensive lawyer, and so Matt and Foggy lose the trial, and so then as Daredevil he follows him later. And he kills the guy. He's not one of these. He's a dark character. He's not one of these Batman or Superman who would would just not kill the bad guys and would take them to jail. But he's basically well, anyways, he can take him to jail because the guy got off. So it's just fuck you.
Which is interesting though, because he's a freaking lawyer, so it makes it even worse.
Yeah.
He's the stuff I do at night is not only is it morally questionable, it goes completely against my profession's ideals.
It's if I lose in the courtroom, I'm not losing at night in the streets.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. He's got all of his bases covered.
And the way he kills him, they're having a little fight scene by the subway, and then he throws him on the subway tracks, and the number 6 train comes by and kills him. It's or whatever it was.
I know, it's just terrible. But they couldn't show it obviously the violence, so
yeah, because it was PG-13. So
violence, yeah.
But after that, the cops are all there trying to figure out what happened, and they're like, "Are you sure it was Daredevil?" And then he does. So Ben Urich just drops a cigarette on the ground and or lighter or something, and these letters appear on the ground in fire that say DD in a very Crow-like way, because there's a scene in The Crow where Eric does the same thing, but with a crow symbol. Yeah. So. And then one thing that always bothered me about this movie is you see the reflection in Ben's glasses, but it's not reversed like it should be.
Okay.
It's DD, but it should be backwards.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah. So basically, they're trying to figure out. They kind of figure out that there's this, basically an unknown baddie in town who's basically the one who's making sure all the bad guys get off for their trials and everything else, and he's referred to as the Kingpin. So yeah, and he's a shadowy, like nobody knows who he is, so they just know he exists. But what else is going on here?
So yeah, he's the Kingpin. By the way, he's black. So they went woke in 2003. The wokeness took over. Woke mind virus.
We don't know he's the Kingpin yet. We just know he's Wilson Fisk. So.
Oh, true.
Yeah.
I mean, I assume that was him just because I know the Kingpin's like really strong and he's like that's like sort of his superpower. Where he's just sort of unnaturally strong.
And you know Wilson Fisk is the Kingpin. So in the comic.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah. There you go. And so it's played by Ian Clark Duncan. Was that his full name?
Michael Clark Duncan. No, Ian.
Oh, okay. I don't know why I thought Ian. But
the late great Michael Clark.
Yeah. Unfortunately, he passed. Was like 20 years ago, something like that. It was a long time ago.
A
while ago. I know that much.
12 years ago, or not 12, 13 years ago.
Okay. Yeah. I know it was a while.
2012. Yeah.
And so like he's this dude who's always like smoking cigars, like your typical like, fancy villain who's like rich, the business, also ruthless at the same time. This dude wants out of the criminal organization that they work with because he's getting scared that there's too many articles about Daredevil, and he's just worried that eventually he's gonna end up catching up with Kingpin, like everyone's gonna be exposed. And so he threatens to kill his daughter. He's like, okay, well, how's your daughter doing? Type of thing. So he's like, I can't do this. And they, by the way, kind of mentioned something. What was up with Ben Affleck's haircut in this movie? I don't know why they thought that was a good idea, but
well, a lot of it, I think, the reason it looks kind of weird is because they dyed his hair red. So
wait, Daredevil? I mean, Ben Affleck?
Yeah,
it wasn't red on my TV.
It is. It's got a reddish tint to it.
Oh, okay.
It's kind of weird, and I mean, because like in the comics, Matt has red hair, so yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But not even meant the color, just the way it's played. It looks like he's wearing a toupee, but I know he's not. But
yeah, I mean, it could have been big for all we know. But yeah, still,
that was just weird to me. But like, which is fine, whatever. That's just a minor point. But we pretty much get introduced. Wow. Get introduced. That's the new. No, hold on a sec. You could use that for like a sketch or something like that.
Well, it's like this. You go to a bar and you want to, or like one of these health bars, and like at a gym or something, and you want to meet somebody, and the way you do it is you both buy an intro juice, and
and then the Jewish guy comes in, like the whole like the rabbi, priest, and imam walk into a bar type joke or whatever.
Intro, it's the part of a Jewish service where you guys meet each other.
I don't think so. But I mean, I've only been to a few. I don't remember that happening. But
you all introduce yourself.
I mean, I've been to a few, morning Sabbath, at the Reformed Synagogue. I don't ever remember that happening. But okay. Maybe I just happen to miss those ones, but
yes,
I've
been to, we never had that either. So
no, but no. So yeah, he was not introduced. He was introduced. But I'm worried that like someone's gonna pick that up and like do like anti-Semitic shit with that now. Like, oh, I was introduced to but Netanyahu. I mean, I can't think of anyone famous right now, but like BB or whatever.
Yeah,
I'm like, I can't talk.
Please, just everybody ignore we even said that. So there we go.
Because that was an accident. I don't want someone like using that as some weird pun or anything. Don't blame it on me. It was an accident. But anyway, so you're introduced.
Blame it on the rain. Blame it on the rain because the rain don't mind and the rain don't care. But
by the way, there actually is a song in here about being caught in the rain.
Yes.
At one point in the movie. But anyway, we get introduced to Elektra, played by the beautiful Jennifer Garner.
Yes.
The future star.
The future Mrs. Ben Affleck.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
And then the future
ex-wife
of Ben Affleck.
They got back together, didn't they, at one point, and then broke up again?
They did. I think they pretty much had their thing, had their kids, and then he got back together with Jenny from the Block, and then different thing.
Jenny from the Block.
Yes.
And Yeah, and so we're introduced to her. He creepily can like smell her, which that was a weird I don't know,
Yeah,
whatever. Like
that
the
whole
idea of
scene,
smelling women
that whole
is
scene creeped me out for some reason.
it's kind of weird.
It's like he hears a bell ring at the door, and it's just like he can tell, how that like a hot woman's walking in or something, and it's just like,
Yeah.
and it's like
It's
this
so
thing that him and Foggy both know and everything. I did find it funny in that scene though, where they were like kind of arguing about the fact that they don't make money for a lot of their cases, and they get paid in like fish and stuff, and in bartering, and he asks for the honey, and Foggy gives him the mustard, and he puts the mustard in his coffee, but then he switches it before.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I knew that was going to happen. Like I was like, yeah.
But yeah, that was pretty funny. It was pretty old, like matter, like an old school Three Stooges type gag. But yeah,
which makes some gag because of mustard in his coffee or his tea or whatever. So I think that would make one gag. I mean, I'm not going to try it myself.
So the funny thing I noticed too is she walks into the coffee shop. He gets up to talk to her, and somehow she already has a coffee.
Oh, right.
That was quick. Never saw her go up to the counter. Where did this coffee come from? Was it just...
You know what it is? See, she comes there every day, and they know exactly what she orders, so they just get ready for her, and then she just goes up, pays for it real quick, and sits down. That's what happened. I don't know. But that's I guess.
My thought was where she just sat down at a random table and somebody had left their coffee there and she just starts drinking it.
Oh, gross. A cold coffee. Yeah, I heard that. Something I don't know. And so he tries to flirt with her badly about honey, which is like, it could be like a double entendre. Could I have some honey? And she's like, "What are you, blind?" And like, "Oh, I'm so sorry, you are blind," or whatever. And,
yeah.
And he introduces himself to her by Matt Murdock, but she doesn't give. Okay, so all right. Okay, guys, 2003. Let's do a history lesson there. Okay, 2003 was 22 years ago.
Yeah,
a lot has changed culturally since that time of what was seen as acceptable, not so much acceptable. Even then, you could argue it wasn't acceptable, but it was seen as acceptable by other people. So that's like a double. That's like that's like a separate, two separate things going on at once. So anyway, so he essentially stalks her because she did not give him her name, and she knows that he's following her because, quote, "I don't like being followed," which I don't think any woman does, or any man, but especially not any woman. Likes the idea of being followed. And then they get into like a karate kung fu type fight
in the middle of a playground.
So all the kids are like, yeah, fight, type of thing.
Yeah, and it's just like, so. Yeah, I mean, like you're saying, I mean, I don't know how many love stories start out with somebody beating the shit out of you, but there shouldn't be any.
There shouldn't be. But hey, this is a totally different movie and time we got here. I think she liked it because she didn't think that he would know how to fight, so she was kind of like surprised that someone's like could match her, sort of, in her abilities. Which again, another don't show. Where does she learn all this kung fu stuff and why?
It's not the worst, love story for the ages that I've seen in TV or movies. I mean, that would have to be that ended up turning out okay, would have to be in General Hospital, where when they first introduced Luke on there, he raped Laura, and then they got married, and it was like the most watched wedding in TV history. And
what reminds me of Game of Thrones, speaking of which, I was talking about that. The one of the characters gets married off to like this like tribal king, and he basically just like rapes her on their wedding night. That was basically because she didn't, they want to do it. But then later on, they became like madly in love with each other. I'm like, dude, this guy raped their wedding night. It's like, what the fuck?
Yeah, it's the same thing there on General Hospital. Like in the 80s, Luke and Laura were like, General Hospital was like the number one soap opera at the time, and they were like bigger than Charles and Di or something, like they were the biggest couple in the world, even though they were a fictional one. You know what I mean? It's just like,
yeah. And so, after Matt stalks her, and she kind of puts him in his place a little bit, then they like each other all of a sudden, I guess, because of the fact that he stalked her. All right, anyway. So she gives him an invite to like this really big, another thing, like a Batman thing, like, oh, Bruce Wayne's going to all these like galas and fancy shit, so he's invited to, because we find out that she's actually the daughter of the dude that wanted out of the crime gang earlier in the movie. So that's why he's like, how's your daughter? So he was basically threatening to have her killed if he didn't like continue
the Eric
to play
Hart
along.
character, who's a Facebook friend of mine, who I asked to do our show, but he refused. Not refused, but like, is busy. He doesn't do podcasts. So, whatever.
I've seen him in a bunch of other things. I'm trying to remember what.
He's in a lot of things. He's been really busy lately. He's in that show about Jesus, with whatever that show.
That show.
That big show that's about Jesus.
I didn't even know there's a show about Jesus right now.
It's like you can stream it on some things. It was like originally released by the people that released Sound of Freedom, but I know, but they had nothing to do with it. Like that company releases things that I don't necessarily they don't produce. They just release them. It's like
randomly, like anything. Yeah. Yeah. Like, oh, okay. Now they're going to release this like weird horror movie or something.
Yeah, I don't think they've gone that, but it's usually things that are like kind of religious based, but also different things like that. But or what they consider religious based. But yeah, what the hell's in it? Oh my God, I don't know what the show's called, but it's like, I don't know. I know a lot of people that are Christian love the show, so that's all I know.
I mean, I've seen him stuff. I just can't remember what I've seen him in. Like movies from like the 2000s, era. Yeah, stuff like that.
I mean, we saw him in Home Alone 4. So
I remember him in Home Alone 4. I don't remember hardly any of that movie other than the dude from Chicago Police plays his dad.
Oh, the TV show's called The Chosen.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a show about it's about Jesus and his dudes hanging out.
His dude.
Yeah.
I actually kind of like that better though as a show instead of a movie, because that way you can actually do more stuff with it, like tell more stories.
I've got 34 episodes. I don't know if it's still on.
So that's really good.
Yeah.
You could really tell a larger story with 34 episodes than like a 2-hour movie that's just basically like a gore fest, but people love to watch it because they're like, yeah, I can't wait to go into movie theaters and watch my 30-year-old savior get completely decimated with spears and bleeding. And I'm like, okay, cool, enjoy, I guess. Like, that's a weird thing to, whatever, no matter. It's to me, that's, I mean, that would be like, oh, did you know that the Bob was shot by 750 guns? Let's go watch a 2-hour movie for just that.
It's like The Matrix. But anyway, so
yeah, I don't know.
No. Yeah, no, but he was like in The Mummy. He was in Independence Day. He was in Stargate.
Mummy, okay, yeah.
He's an Indian American actor, so yeah.
Independence Day. Okay, now I know what you're talking about. All right.
Yeah, but he plays Greek in this movie, so yeah.
And Mediterranean.
Yeah,
same thing. Not really.
And so does Jennifer Garner, for that matter. So it's like
she plays, his daughter. Yeah. Which is weird because like randomly when she started talking to her father, she was like trying to like have like a Greek accent, which is like, why not just talk the way you talk? Like, why are you changing your accent depending on just because you're speaking Greek doesn't mean like you have to change like the way you speak. Like, it's just kind of whatever. It's like a weird, like I'm learning Turkish, but like I'm speaking Turkish the way I speak. Like I'm not like pretending to be like a Turk, like, what I mean?
Have you heard about? There's this movie called The Brutalist, which Adrian Brody's in. That just got nominated. He got nominated for an Academy Award. I don't know when they're going to be out, so it might be when this comes out. It might be past the time of the awards, but I don't know. He got nominated, but people are being kind of not sure about it because he plays. I think it's I want to say Hungarian or something person, and he for him to. When he speaks, sometimes like when he speaks in Hungarian, they used AI to make his accent sound more authentic.
Oh, okay.
But he's still doing the acting, but so it's kind of like a controversial sort of thing. Like it's So it's kind of weird, but yeah, to make him sound more authentic as a Hungarian. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So yeah. Technology.
Technology is great. And so this Fisk guy, they meet him. What's his name? Poppy. I forgot. It's not not Poppy. What's his name?
Foggy.
Foggy. Not Poppy. Foggy. He sees. Yeah. Foggy sees Fisk and wants to get his business as lawyers, but then Matt just totally shuts him down. He's like, "No, we only represent innocent people." And he's like, "God damn it!" He's like, "I don't want to get paid in sports equipment anymore, like and fish and whatever else."
Yeah, aerobatic. His sidekick is named Poppy.
Yes, yes, Poppy. And so basically, that doesn't go through because Matt ruined it, and then Fisk goes over to what's his name? Nachiostos?
Nachios.
Nachios. He's like, "Hey, I just want to say goodbye to you." And he's like, "Wait, what?" And he gives him like a rose or some shit. And he's like, "Oh, great, he's gonna get killed." And then he's like, "Oh God, I gotta get out of here." So meanwhile, I forgot to mention, Fisk hires this guy named Bullseye, which is one of the worst supervillains I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
Played by Colin Farrell. Is that who his name is?
Colin Farrell. Yeah, he's in the movie. He's Irish and everything. I don't know what he is in the comic books, and I haven't seen the Netflix series in a while. He does appear in that as well, but by a different actor, obviously. But and I think he's a little bit better. But the thing about this movie is, I know in the comic books he wears like a costume with the bullseye on the top of the cowl of the costume. But
Wow.
but in this, instead of that, they have it's like carved into his forehead as a bullseye.
I don't know why he did that to him. So whatever. It's okay. Guy's kind of crazy.
I do like his introduction when they introduce him, where he's in this pub in Ireland and he's just drinking beer and like throwing darts like off to the side, not even looking at the dartboard. And and they're playing this House of Pain song, I think, and then and then at the end he ends up taking a paper clip and breaking it into little pieces, and then he kills this guy for making fun of him. He
just walks away because apparently you can just commit crimes in this universe.
I mean, I've never been to Ireland. I don't know. Maybe that's a rule where you could just go into a pub and
no, I don't think.
I'm not going to find out. I'm not going to try to find out. I'm not going to. I mean, first off, I don't want to spend all that time trying to learn how to, throw things that precise. And
that seems like a very tedious art to. Yeah, I wanted.
Yes,
he's kind of a weird character, though. I could totally understand why he's like an obsessive person. He just acts funny and just weirdly, I don't know. And so he ends up killing. Oh, that's right. So basic. Okay, so we forgot the fact that Elektra and Matt are kind of sort of dating. I don't really know how to explain it, but kind of. I think they end up boning each other at one point, and
they be fucking. Yep. Wait.
Yeah, they be fucking, and then Bullseye's trying to chase them down to make sure that he's. That Nachios is actually dead. And so Matt, as Daredevil, tries to prevent it. And it looks like he's successful at first, but then when he went to grab his cane, because his cane's kind of also his weapon that he uses.
Yeah.
The Bullseye had taken it from him and then threw it at Nachios, just impaling him on his chest. Can't imagine how fast that would be. That's not even like a sharp object. That's just
I don't know how that would happen. Usually that would just bounce off of somebody. I mean, it'd have to be really
and it would still hurt, but it's kind of odd that it would just go through. I mean, how fast does he throw? I understand he's good at precision, but they never said anything about strength. So I don't know. And then so he dies, obviously, but then it looks like Daredevil did it. So now Elektra hates Daredevil. And then so there's a scene where she's practicing in her empty house with a bunch of bags of rice or salt or whatever with her.
Yeah. And an Evanescence song playing in the background.
Yeah, that was when that song was really a huge hit. So what happens after that? Because I'm kind of missing some things here.
So then we ended up having what happens here? We got so she believes that Daredevil's responsible, and she attempts to take revenge by killing him, and they have this fight. But then at the same time, Fisk basically assigns Bullseye to kill Elektra as well. But anyway, she she tracks down Daredevil, and they have like a little fight and everything. And then at the end, she takes off his mask and realizes it's Matt. And then, it's like, oh no, oh yeah. Before when they be fucking, they're kissing on the roof and everything. And then he hears some people like fighting or something down there. He's like, I've got to go. Basically, like he was going to go save them, and then she convinces him to stay, and then they go have sex. So I'm thinking,
I was like, yeah, let them deal with their own problems.
It's like some innocent people,
someone getting murdered. Because it's like, oh my god, dude.
But anyways,
it's like, yeah.
So it's just like, okay, sex is more
like,
sex is more important than saving people's lives, I guess.
I mean, she must have been like one good lay to the point where he's like going to let people get murdered so he can have sex. Like, what the hell, man? That's kind of fucked up. I was thinking that she couldn't hear it because he has like super hearing. So I was wondering if only he was hearing it and that she wasn't hearing it either.
He was, but my thing is, he didn't. He could have come up with an excuse. He doesn't say.
Oh no, yeah, I get that.
I'm not blaming her at all. I'm blaming him.
Yeah. Wanted to say it would have been worse if she could have also. He's like, yeah, forget those people. Fuck those people. Let's us fuck. You fuck those people.
Let's fuck.
Yeah, exactly. Oh god.
Yeah. I'd like to think anytime I've ever had sex in my life, innocent people didn't die while it was happening. But because of me, I should say. But,
because of I guess that makes. I mean, obviously, because
I'm sure the chances, because innocent people die almost every minute of the day in this world. Yeah. So
it's now probably every second because of certain portions of that play. Anyway, and so that they be fucking.
Yeah, but this but this is like later they fight, and what ends up happening is she finds out that it's him, and he has to explain like, no, I didn't kill your dad. And then I
was trying to protect you. Yeah.
So what? Bullseye shows up moments later, and he tracks Elektra down there, and he's like, he's kind of incapacitated, and he can see the rain and everything, and he can see her and everything, and he basically helplessly is there, and he watches Bullseye kill her and like throw her to the ground. So
quote unquote kill her because
yeah.
Anyway, because there's a movie that comes out 2 years later where she's not dead. Anyway,
I honestly don't remember if the movie is a sequel or a prequel, so I don't.
No, it's a sequel. I read the thing. Someone brings her back from the dead, resurrects her.
At the end of the movie, there's like kind of there's a nod to that too. So,
bet you it was because they were hoping that they were going to make Daredevil sequel, and she was going to come back for that. But then they're like, they're not going to.
I think they already knew they were going to make the Elektra spinoff. So
okay, interesting. Yeah, I don't know. It's such a weird.
Because
it was such a dumb thing to do. It's like, why kill her at the very last whatever?
Well, I do believe this actually happened in the comics.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Like this too. So they kind of were, retelling the story. I do know she did die at one point by falling off a building, and I can't remember who killed her, if it was Bullseye or another villain or what. But because I know at one time she becomes a villain too. So she does in the Netflix series too. So because that movie came out only 2 years later, so I was trying to find out when it came out. Yeah, so it's like so they had to have kind of been planning it, because you don't just make a movie that fast.
So well, I guess you could, but it wouldn't be.
Yeah. So she dies. Matt's wounded, and he ends up taking refuge in a church. But then Bullseye ambushes him, and then he exploits his weakness because he can sound will like fuck with his sonar type stuff. So he's like throwing down all these what do they call those, like pipes and a pipe organ,
the organ, pipe organ stuff.
Yeah. Which and it's like this big fight scene in a church, which is very similar to the big fight scene in a church in The Crow. But anyways, they end up so he ends up basically Bullseye tells him that Kingpin killed his father. leaving, that rose behind as his calling card. So, and then while this is happening, he ends up, Matt gets the upper hand and throws Bullseye from the bell tower out the window and everything. There was some cool scenes in there too, like where he used all of his little throwing stars or whatever he had.
Yeah,
he did, and then he goes back and he just like there's a stained glass like window and above this door, and he like knocks it out, and then he takes all the little pieces from it and collects them in his hand, and then he uses those as throwing stars, which I thought was actually kind of cool.
That was pretty neat. Yeah.
I think Bullseye's a cool character. They just the way that he's in this movie is just
it's not good. Yeah. It's bad.
The concept of somebody having that ability to be that precise and stuff is cool. It's kind of like Gambit in a way, but
yeah, a little bit like Gambit actually, because it's Hawkeye. Well, Hawkeye's got an arrow, so it's a little bit different.
Yeah,
but
it's similar. He is able to that, or like over in DC, you got Arrow or Deadshot or other people that can do that type of stuff.
Yeah.
Anyways, there's this big fight at the church, and he fucks with him. And basically, he ends up killing Bullseye, right?
No. So what happens is that the cops are showing up, and then at one point they're on the rooftop at some point. I don't know if it's the church or somewhere, and they end up shooting through his hands, so it ruins his hands. He's like, "My hand! You took my hands! Show mercy!"
Yeah. Okay, but then he like Matt throws his body down onto Urich's car. I remember.
Yeah, but he doesn't die. They did a post-credit scene.
Well, yeah, we think he did. We think he's dead at this point.
Yeah, which is weird because I think that was like one of the first times they did like a post-credit screen for a Marvel movie, maybe.
Yeah,
or possibly. It was okay. Wow.
So, anyways, he's now he knows. Because the sniper was who shot it through the hands. I forgot. Yeah. It's been a couple days since I saw the movie, so I'm just like,
it's all right. Oh, we forgot to mention too that the guy, Kevin Smith's character, works at the morgue, and he showed him the cane thing.
Oh yeah, he's like the lab tech at the morgue or whatever, and Kevin Smith is there. His character's name is Kirby in honor of Jack Kirby from Marvel. So yeah,
cool.
Which is kind of cool. There's a lot of little nods here and there in this thing to like former Marvel writers and stuff. But Jack Kirby, who should, he should have had a lot more in his lifetime than he did. He got fucked over a little bit by Stan Lee too. But anyways, so did Steve Ditko. But because everybody's like, oh, Stan Lee created that character, but most of his characters he co-created with somebody. So it's like. Not take anything away from Stan Lee. He's still one of the greatest. Yeah. It's not as bad as what Bob Kane did to Bill Finger over at DC, but we're getting kind of off track here. Anyways, so he's going to take revenge. He's going to get revenge of and avenge the deaths of Elektra and his father. And so he ambushes Fisk's office, and there's like a big fight happening there. And at one point, he basically is able to beat Fisk. He like takes out his knees.
I got a whole commentary about that, but go ahead.
Go ahead. And go ahead, bring it up.
Well, I was gonna say your knees are one of the strongest parts of your body. So to have your knees be broken, you would need like sheer brute strength, especially for a guy to his size. But fine.
Well, he is a fighter.
It's true. I mean, I guess so. Yeah.
He's able to kind of beat him because he realizes that there's like this, he can see through like there's water from the fish tanks or something in the office. So he uses that idea for like, being able to see him like he can Elektra in the rain and stuff. Anyways, Fisk finds out that Matt is the Daredevil. And he threatens to reveal Daredevil's identity to the world, but Matt points out that no one will ever believe that Daredevil is a blind man, which is kind of true.
Well, it's like, so what, you beat a blind man? Like, wow, so tough.
So then after that, Matt visits the top of the roof of his apartment building, where Elektra and him had kissed before. and he finds Elektra's necklace with her name engraved upon it in Braille, hinting that she might be alive.
Yeah, maybe. I mean,
and then we cut to Ben Urich as he's like writing this article about Daredevil's identity, but then he just decides at the last minute to delete the whole thing and keep it secret. And he exits. And he exits the New York post office into the night, I should say, outside, and he sees Matt on a rooftop, and he's like, "Go get him, Matt!"
Yeah. Like very much Batman-y type stuff, you know? You're staying on top of it, bro. There's like some lines in here that are so bad though, where he's like, "I'm not the bad guy." I'm not. This is like okay,
because there was a scene earlier on when he was fighting somebody, and Kid is like scared of him, and he's just like, "I'm not the bad guy, kid." You know, it's just like
he goes down a rooftop. He's like trying to convince himself, "I'm not a bad guy. I'm not." It's like okay,
and he does the stereotypical like Batman voice when he's a Daredevil. You know,
no, he does. It's just like, oh my god, like
it's well, like the voice that like everybody as Batman does almost. You know, it's like
I'm the Batman. Yeah,
I'm Batman.
Oh god.
It'd be funny if like it's the other way around, and like in your normal life you're like, "Can you pass the salt?" And then when you're like Batman, you're like, "Hey, I'm Batman."
Yeah, like exactly. Like, wait a minute, hold on. What are we doing here?
Well, I gotta hide my voice. My voice in the normal world sounds like a superhero. I gotta make myself crazy as
oh god.
So, anyways, at the end, we've got the, you know, he basically leaps off, you know, and leaps off a building, and then after the credits roll a little bit, we have this like post-credit scene or middle credit scene where a heavily bandaged Bullseye awakens in a hospital, and then he kills a fly with a syringe needle.
Like, I guess hinting that like he's gonna come back, but he's like the worst villain though. It's like, why would anyone want to see Bullseye again? Like, yeah.
Bullseye again. That's the sequel.
Bullseye again. Bullseye. Well, that's the other thing too. They didn't even really flesh out his character to even like have any like emotional investment into him. You know?
No, that's the problem with most of the characters in this movie. You don't really have any emotional besides Matt. I mean, it's you don't know why.
Ironically, the priest seems like they have an interesting relationship. So it's like him and the priest seem like closer friends than like him and Elektra, who, you know, they be fucking.
Well, hopefully him and priests aren't doing what priests are known for. And
exactly. Maybe he was raised by no.
Well, I know that in the comic books, like in the Frank Miller run and in some of the Kevin Smith run, there's this whole like Catholic element to the character where he's you know, he wrestles with his identity as a Catholic, and he's out there killing people and stuff, and he's got this, you know, there's like a really deep. I read some of them back in the day, and they were decent. I can't remember most of them, but there was like this whole thing with him and a priest and stuff like that, where, you know, the priest kind of knew what was going on and stuff. So yeah, if I remember correctly, I could just be making that up, but I do know that I do know like Kevin Smith did have a lot of like, because Kevin was born and raised Catholic, so he had a lot of influence on his run as a writer on Daredevil about the whole Catholic aspect. So but anyways, so
Yep.
That's Daredevil. I'm assuming. Yeah, I really want to go back and rewatch the Netflix series. I didn't watch all of it though. I kind of faded off because there was all those shows kind of interconnected at times, and I was like getting confused as to when to watch which one. So
yeah, happy with me.
I gotta find like a chart online that tells me, you know, when to watch which ones. I really liked Jessica Jones. But yeah, and the first season or two of Daredevil that I watched. Yeah, so a little bit of trivia here. We've got due to the regularity of the movie's excessive scenes, Daredevil was banned in Malaysia. It was also banned in some. It was also banned in some countries because of the name Devil.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I can't remember. I was reading that somewhere else, but we've got there was like several people like during development of this that were up for the character of Matt Murdock. Like in 1997, 20th Century Fox optioned the film rights of the character Daredevil from Marvel Comics. Chris Columbus, speaking of Home Alone,
Yeah.
and the director of the Rent movie and the first couple Harry Potter movies, he was going to direct it, and but then because Marvel was facing bankruptcy at the time, and 20th Century Fox ended up allowing the thing to expire. So in 2012, they began negotiations in order to. This is after 2012 is like years later. Anyways, in 1999, negotiations failed to work out. So Marvel set up the project with Columbia Pictures. During that time, Columbus and his co-writer worked on a script. Then Mark Steven Johnson eventually came on. At one time, I know that they were looking at Edward Norton for the role of Matt Murdock. They were also looking at Matt Damon, who did not want to do it because he didn't like the script. Mm-hmm. And I mean, I think it was like Kevin Smith who eventually suggested Ben Affleck. And then Ben read every single, he read most Daredevil comic books that were out there. So,
okay.
Cool. Yeah, at one time they wanted Ben Affleck to play Bullseye. And they were thinking of Colin Farrell for Matt.
Oh my God.
And then it ended up being switched. So, yeah. These are just things I'm remembering off the top of my head from all the trivia I read. I'm not going to look it all up now. But yeah, that's just some of the interesting trivia that I had there. They're like other people that wanted to play Daredevil, or like Vin Diesel wanted to play him and stuff.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And one of the people that really, really wanted to play the role was Cuba Gooding Jr.
Wow.
Yeah.
I don't know if that would work out.
No, and it has nothing to do with his color of his skin. It's just I don't think he would have been
like
right
just
role.
like his style. Yeah.
Yeah. Plus, he's a despicable human being. So yeah.
Yeah.
A lot is going to come out, I think, in the Diddy trials about Cuba Gooding Jr. So.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Allegedly.
Well, yeah, allegedly. I mean, yeah,
the
of course.
Things that Diddy did allegedly too. Do not sue me. Okay.
Yeah, do not sue.
We have a friend who hosts a podcast called Sex Party with Dustin Ripka. His name is Dustin Ripka, and he's had episodes about the Diddy stuff, which you should look up, where he's interviewed people that were involved in things, and he's been served with a lot of cease and desist letters and things from Sean Combs' people. So,
oh, great,
yeah. So, got to be careful about that. So, anyways, any final thoughts here on Daredevil?
No, not really. Just be a good person. Don't harass women or stalk them when they don't give you their name. Don't get into like kung fu fights with them. don't injure their lives by getting them wrapped up in whatever vigilante stuff you've got going on, which leads to the death of father and stuff like. Don't do it. Don't be the bad guy, as he is wont to say.
Don't be the bad guy. That's a good thing to live your life by.
Yeah, that's a good advice.
You know what? If you're the bad guy, you know what could happen to you? You could become president of the United States.
That's true. See, we live in an alternate world, but yeah, like kind of like the MCU, the multiverse, we're like in one of those universes. But since we are an advice podcast, as one of our top fans says, but we give bad advice. Well, don't be the bad guy. It seems like good advice to me, doesn't it? There's nothing controversial about that.
It's great advice, and we've also recently been told not to talk about politics. So, I
can sort of agree with that, but at the same time, it's like everything is now political. I mean, you can't escape it. No,
somebody brought up that when we covered the movie Soul Man, that we talked about not Soul Man. When we covered the movie Just One of the Guys, that we talked too much about the Reagan 80s. Well, it took place in the Reagan 80s. What else are we going to talk about?
And it was important because it was like it had issues to do with like a woman dressing up and pretending to be a boy so that she could go. I mean, so it's like, yeah, that stuff is relevant to the time period that it came out. I mean, came out, pun intended, but like,
So anyways, folks, don't be the bad guy. go check out all2ReelToo.com. Check out our Patreon on there. There's also links to our Patreon and our TeePublic and our show notes. Go there and help us out. If you can't afford to do anything, I understand. Just share the show with your friends. Best way to get our name out there. Give us a 5-star review on Apple or Stitcher or wherever you can. It does help the show a lot. And, comment on our videos on YouTube. Whatever. Yeah. Even if you don't like us, comment on our videos on YouTube. Tell us to fuck off. Tell us that we shouldn't talk politics, or that we shouldn't give advice, or that, I'm ugly. I don't care what you do, even though you can't see me because this is an audio podcast. But
well, they might, if they got like the sonar technology, they might be able to.
Oh boy. But you could also, see me in the profile pictures and stuff online. But anyways, folks, like I said, don't be the bad guy. To recap, don't be the bad guy.
Nope.
And trans lives are human lives. I love you.
Don't be political. I love you too.
Sesame loves you. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And Black Lives Matter. Don't be political.
Be political.
Free Palestine.
Don't be political.
Fuck ICE.
Don't be political.
And
what's
until
ice cubes?
What? Yeah, we're just talking about ice. Yeah. Like the ice cubes I have in my drink here. Can you hear them? Anyway, so the and until next time, bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to All2ReelToo podcast, a Cullen Park production. Produced and edited by Michael E. Cullen II. Music by Matthew Hawes. Subscribe and share the show. Visit us at cullenpark.com.